Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and this is B.fleye Beauty, and Noodle has entered the room. Hey bud. I wanted to do a video today about just kind of embracing the skin that you have, like the skin type, the age of your skin, the shape of your face, the age of yourself, and how to still look youthful, feel like yourself, but for instance, I have super oily skin and I've always tried to combat it with a lot of powder. It doesn't look good. I've now embraced that. So I just think it makes your life easier. It makes you look more like yourself. And we're gonna talk through a couple of different tips and tricks. Like I also have like super hooded lids, and that's, I mean, I've always had that, but we'll get into it. So let's just zoom in and we will talk through all the little tips that I have. Okay, so the first thing is you will see that I have a very round face. Even after I've lost weight, that's just how my body is made. I have big cheeks, I have oily skin, I am acne prone, I am 44, I am getting wrinkles. I have very hooded lids. I've always had very hooded lids, even as a kid. And then as I've grown older, right, it becomes saggier. So for me, doing a really technical eye is kind of silly. I do it sometimes, but it's just, you can't see it. So like, what's the point? So just kind of working with what you have. So I want to start with the oily skin thing. It's not that I don't powder, it's that I don't over powder, and I let the greasy skin come through during the day and I just let it be. So no matter what your age, skin type, anything, I don't care what color you are, I don't care if you are like the blackest of black skin and you never leave the house, you should be wearing SPF. So we're gonna start there. I have two that I go back and forth on, just depends on, I've talked about both of these a lot, but I have very oily skin and it is continuing to get oily, but these are the two I love and they both look and perform really well under makeup. The first is the Trader Joe's. I gotta do the influencer hand, sorry. This is the Trader Joe's Daily Facial Sunscreen Broad Spectrum 40. It's a very silicone-like, feels very much like a Smashbox primer, but better. And then I am on 3 or 4 of the Sunbum Glow 30. A lot of shimmer SPF tints do not sit well and look too metallic, but this one is gorgeous. I've never really mixed these two because the formulas are very different and the consistency is, but it doesn't mean that you can't mix this with another sunscreen. But I think I want to go with the Glow. Recently I've been mixing it with a little bit of a bronzer drop. So I'm going to do that. This is a shimmer, so I am definitely embracing the oil and I am embracing the shimmer that already comes on my face. I've had somebody ask me like what highlighter I was wearing before, and I was like, I'm literally wearing no highlighter whatsoever. That is just my greasy skin. So again, I got compliments, so it's working well. So I'm gonna mix these two together just because when you wear and do a very consistent skincare routine, you tend to be lighter on the facial skin than you are on, like you can see, this is tan for me, hilarious, right? But you can see that I am much more pink and white than I have on my arm, like the color on my arm. So I do want to kind of match that skin, because when you are consistent with skincare, you're going to have exfoliation on the skin, which means you're not going to have as much tan and color there. So during the summer, I like adding a little color to my skin tint. And you will see this is, once this dries down, this is not super duper metallic. It's a slight shimmer. And it just makes me feel really pretty. If I was to want something, it's not that this doesn't last, but if I'm looking to wear makeup and look good for 12 hours, I probably wouldn't choose the shimmery one, just because when it adds to my oil, stuff just doesn't stay on as long as it would with something like this, the Trader Joe's one. So it just depends on how I'm gonna do my day. Am I working outside of the home that day? Do I have a lot of appointments? Do I wanna look good and put together and not super duper oily all day? That's what I would choose. Today, it's Labor Day. I am doing, going to a friend's to do a pool day. I'm doing some projects in the house. So we're only gonna run a couple of errands and go to that party. So I know I don't have to look good for 24 hours. And so this works well. I wore this on our trip to Galveston, and every time I saw myself on camera, I just really love the way my skin looked. Again, it's short term, it's vacation mode kind of thing for me personally. Shimmer might stay on your skin a lot better. My next tip is, as you grow older, especially once you're over 40, the very bright under eye does not look good. I will try to put a picture here, but what happens when you put a really bright color under here and you are starting to get fine lines and different kind of skin texture is it highlights the under eye. That's why people use a brighter, lighter skin tone color for under their eye. It is a highlighter. I don't want to highlight under my eyes. I just want to cover. So if you are 40 or over, maybe even 35 and over, unless you have the smoothest baby skin, I just don't recommend it. And I don't personally love the look anyway, but as you grow older, we want to conceal, we want to feel good, but we don't want to highlight the really crepey skin, the wrinkly skin, that kind of thing. So to combat that, I highly recommend using something that is the exact skin tone or just a slight shade lighter. This is the best concealer I have ever used, especially for all over the face and spot concealing. This is the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer. I use RN3, which is Rosy Neutral 3. They did just come out with a Rosy Neutral 2.5, and I'm gonna pick that one up for winter because this one is great for summer, and then you can also mix. They are expensive, but if you have oily skin, aging skin, any oily person that has tried this has absolutely loved it. And along with the tip of like just matching your skin tone under the eye, is just not going heavy. Like it's okay to not put a ton on. Like if you have freckles, let those show through. Like again, if you want to do full glam and full foundation, go for it. But it just doesn't look as good on us in person. For a picture, that's a whole different story. But I'm talking about going about your day-to-day life. I don't have a ton of darkness, so I usually just put it here. If you had a little bit of darkness here and you wanted a lift, you could put a little dot here as well. What I would suggest is not, again, this is especially over 40, is not going like this with your whole concealer. And maybe I'll do a little reel about this as well later, but letting the majority of the color and the concealer be in the dark spots. And then using what is left to tap out into the rest, and sometimes even tapping that more out and blending that more out as well, because you don't want a lot of thick coverage here. So like I said, I only put it in the inner corner where I feel like I have the most to cover, and part of that is because of my glasses. It leaves a huge mark, and part of that is that's where I have darkness. Then I have a little redness here. Less is more, I feel like, at our age. It's not that I don't think we can wear color and shimmer. It's not about playing. It's about, I'm talking about kind of making your skin look best. I don't like the idea of saying, oh, you can't wear shimmer after 30. You can't wear colorful eyeshadow looks. I just don't believe in that. However, there are some things that can help your skin look its best, and those are the tips I wanted to give you today. So I spot conceal, and granted I did use a tinted sunscreen, a very, very lightly tinted sunscreen, but it's tinted. If I was having a really bad skincare day, and I use this, I would probably spot conceal a little bit more, but I don't need to today because I don't really have a ton of breakout. I get more of a redness, and I don't like to put this everywhere, so I push this into the spot I want to keep it instead of going like this, because I don't want that coverage everywhere. I want the lightest coverage possible. I personally hate the feeling of coverage on my skin, but I use it when it's necessary. So because I only put it on that inner corner, I'm going to let that fade out so that the least amount is where my wrinkles are. And because I don't wear shadow daily, I do like to cover the redness on my eye, and so I do let it fade onto the eyelid as well. But you can see I barely have any on, and it is a tiny bit lighter than my skin tone, but it doesn't look jarring, and it doesn't highlight any of the wrinkles or fine lines that I might have. I also have huge cheeks, so anytime I smile, you will see like all of this like press up, and the more foundation concealer you have under the eye, the crepier you look, and it just makes you look older. Which is why, if you possibly can, to wear the least amount of coverage on the skin, because it just looks better on our age. So in camera, it definitely looks like I'm very bright, but let me take a phone pic. I'll put that on the screen so you can see what I look like in regular lighting. I don't use a ring light. I'm literally using natural light coming from outside. So it is a little bit, does look a little bright in some spots, but in real life it's not. Okay, so I'm not gonna powder anything yet. I'm gonna powder at the end. So number 2, or number 3, so we've embraced the skin that we have, right? I'm oily, I'm embracing that. I'm not gonna over powder, but I'll show you how I do powder at the end. Number 2, not going super heavy under the eyes, not going super heavy on the skin at all, letting that skin breathe, even though that's not really a thing. It's just a saying, your skin doesn't need to breathe. But I have the least amount, but I still look decent. I still look put together. So the third thing is placing blush. Based on the shape of your face as is. I am not going to try and change my features today. I am not going to contour. Is contouring wrong? No. I don't want to spend that much time every day to change my face shape. I have accepted that I have huge cheeks, and if I really wanted, like if I was going to take pictures and I wanted to look my absolute, you know, like perfect face, I probably wouldn't do my blush exactly like this, maybe slightly like this. But for every day, I actually like to accentuate the cheek. And so traditionally, as a makeup artist, what I would tell you to do to lift the face is to put that blush up and out. So maybe even starting like center of the eye or corner of the eye and up, and not to get close to here at all, and not to drag it down. I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm going to literally put this on my cheeks. Is it gonna make my face look rounder? Yes, but I have soft features and I want to allow those soft features. So I'm gonna do 2 different blushes. I'm gonna do one of my favorites right now, which is the RMS Beauty Maiden's blush. It's the Redimension Hydra Powder Blush. It's just a really beautiful terracotta color. So I really like this as a base blush for the summer this year. Really, really gorgeous color. It looks super messy, but so I am going to focus this on those high points like we teach to lift the face, and then I'm going to bring a brighter color to the apples and highlight the softness and the roundness of my face. I am not using this to contour. I'm using this as where does the sun hit? And sun does not hit in the contour spots. I'm also using a warm tone, and if you really want to contour, you should not be using a bronzer for contour. Sorry, that's not a thing. It's just not a thing. I like to have it go over my nose. So I've not really lifted the face, but I've added warmth to it. And now I'm going to really highlight the apples of my cheeks. I think I'm going to go in with the Fenty Beauty Fenty Cheek Suede Powder Blush in Water Brat, which is a cool toned pink shimmer. And I'm going to get a big fluffy brush, and I'm going to put that literally where we tell you not to do it. I'm going to get close to the nose. I'm going to get all the way up to the eye almost. And it does kind of droop down a little bit, and it even gets into this nose fold, and I just don't care. I really love the way it looks. I get lots of compliments. Not that that's what I'm looking for, but I feel like I am getting compliments because I'm letting my skin, my face shape, everything just letting it live as is. And when you let those things live as is, you get, people see the real you. People see, you know what I'm saying? So I will powder this down, and I use a slightly shimmery powder to blend it all together. All right, so now I like to use, highly recommend this for all skin types. This is a great powder to finish off dry skin because it's not super drying, and it is a beautiful one on oily skin because you will just see. It's a powder, but it doesn't make you look too powdery and it doesn't cake you up. So this is the Guerlain Meteorites. I shake them a little bit, and then I've actually been using a smaller brush. That way, if I don't want to put powder somewhere, I don't have to, like if I were to use this whole powder puff, I would get too much. And it's just not what I'm going for today, for my everyday, right? I'm not trying to get this to last 24 hours because we just talked about what I'm doing today. If I was, I might powder a little bit more. But I always use a light powder and not anything that's like a foundation because I don't want any extra coverage. I'm using a big eyeshadow brush, fluffy eyeshadow brush. This is really great for blending and spot hitting with powder. So I'm going circular motions. I'm going very light, and I'm just using this to blend everything. Sometimes I go back and add a little bit more blush before I spray the face down, just to make sure I do like a little blush. So in the end, I look covered, I look put together, I look presentable, but I don't feel heavy and I don't look heavy on the skin. So I'm gonna go back a little bit more on the blush. And then I'm gonna spray whatever setting spray you like. I'm gonna do the Until Dawn Only Size, the famous one. And then I let that dry, and then I'm gonna do some mascara. Now, I love a huge, bold lash. However, I can't really do it anymore because nothing stays on my lashes. I am just so oily, even waterproof is coming off. So on days when I'm just doing one little thing for fun, I will use a fun, big, bold lash mascara, and I have some favorites. What is this one called? Lash Clash, the Lancome, I think. Is this Lancome? No, YSL Lash Clash. That is incredible. I have the brown and the blue, CoverGirl Lash Blast, the Princess L'Oreal. Anyway, I have a lot of favorites, but the one that I've been using for the last year or two, because nothing stays on and so I just suck it up and I don't get the lash I really, really love, is the e.l.f. Lash Extender, and it is a tubing mascara. I don't color my brows in. I dye them so I don't have to do much during the day, and I wear glasses and my glasses cover them. But I will talk about some things I've been obsessed with lately, and when I want even more put together, I will use a eyebrow gel and fill in my extra spots with an eyebrow pen if needed, or pencil. So it's not that I don't use it, but just on the regular day-to-day. If you don't barely have any lashes, or eyebrows, I definitely would recommend doing eyebrows. But once I dye mine, I have enough and my glasses cover that I feel comfortable enough. I mean, your eyebrows are a huge part of your face and they're like the frame. So it is important to color them in if you don't have much. I've actually thought about going and getting like a feather brow done. And then we're gonna just do one little tip on the lips. I wanted to say too, like regarding the blush, there's been a new, past couple years, people have been embracing kind of the lower on the cheek blush. I don't personally love that on me, but I think it does look really, really beautiful on some people. I do think that I already have kind of a saggy jowl, and I don't want to highlight that. So once this dries, it's really easy to flick off. So I get stuff on my eyelids all the time. Doesn't matter what kind of mascara you have, let it dry completely. Take a Q-tip or a fluffy eyeshadow brush and it'll just pop right off. No smearing, nothing. Okay, what is wrong with this? I need this little piece to come up. All right, so this is the skin. And then we're gonna do one more tip, and that is, what is the perfect everyday shade for your lips? Well, there's two ways to try it. The first one, I will tell you, but we're not gonna do it on camera because it is what is the color of your nipple. That is right. Your nipple and the inside of your lip gives you the most perfect blush lip shade. So when I'm on the go, I will use a balm, a lipstick, any kind of lip product. I will put it on my cheeks because the same color in your lip and cheek looks really, really beautiful, and it's really easy on the go. I've already done my blush, so we're not gonna do that today, but this color would be gorgeous for that, and it would make you look really natural and put together without a lot of effort. So the color that I have in my collection that matches me the most, the inner lip, is Revlon Rose Velvet. So I'm not gonna use a liner or anything. I'm gonna make it really, really nice and easy. So you can see that you can barely tell the difference between that. Now, if I were to do eye makeup, because my eyes, and I'm gonna do a whole nother video on this, but I'm not gonna do any eyes today. If I were to do eye makeup, I would not do a winged liner. Why? Because my winged liner would literally have to be all the way up here for you to see it when my eyes are open. So I don't do that. If you have a big eyelid, go for it. What I would do is I would smear a pencil, a dark, probably a brown pencil that's kind of gooey at the lash line, underneath and right on top, and then I would smear it with my finger and be done. I personally don't enjoy on myself bottom mascara anymore. If I was doing a big bold eye, I would. But just defining the lash without a lot of effort is what I'm about. So again, taking a kohl pencil liner and a Q-tip and just buffing it into the lash line is all you need. It defines the eye without too much technique, and there's no point anyway with these kind of eyes. So anyway, hopefully that has helped you kind of embrace where you're at. Again, I'm 44. My skin is super oily. I have very hooded lids and I have very round cheeks. It's okay to embrace that. I will link someone below that I really love the way she teaches, like, do you have a high contrast face? I do not have high contrast. And it just kind of gives you like where you can really play with any color and any look, knowing, or do you have soft features? Do you have striking features? Are you high contrast in color? Are you low contrast? Do you have hooded lids or not hooded lids? All of those things play a huge part in how you wear your makeup and do your beauty routine. And it doesn't mean that you can't play and have a good time, but it just gives you kind of a base level of how to do your everyday makeup. So let me know if you learned anything new today. Tell me something that I might not know, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.